Welcome to The Connector Life with Kimber Booth, a blog of insights for connectors who are experts at connecting and uniting people, knowledge, and resources. And their success stems from bringing a level of energy and clarity for themselves and others. Hello. Today we're going to discuss reflection in your annual year in review. Have you ever finished a day, a week, and wonder what you had accomplished? How about an entire year? Well, this has definitely happened to me, and I have found that doing dedicated self-reflection, conducting in an organized way, helps me to appreciate and learn from my activities and my actions. It really also sets me up for success in the future year as I'm doing my planning to have an intentional year. So today I want to walk you through my process for my year in review self-reflection. So what is a self-reflection? Sometimes when I'm using this term year in review, other things may come to mind, such as having the year in sports. So when you hit the end of the year, you often have the year in fashion or other highlights of the year that talks about the highs and the lows of what happened over that last year. Recently with my kids, I know with their yearbooks, they talk about the year in review, and they have things in there like what was the #1 song of the year and what was the biggest science event. Well, those are all great things, but that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about you. We are talking about how you look at your life and celebrate and have this reflection. It's all about your year. So when I think about reflection, I had looked up a definition, and it really means it's a term that gets used when you think about having those intellectual and effective activities that helped you to engage and explore your experiences in order to lead to new understanding and appreciation. So why should you even do this? I hope that you're already doing it, but if you haven't, there really are many benefits to doing it, and it helps you to lead an intentional life. And I really feel it's a power connector skill. So what are the benefits? I think it does help you to reflect on your accomplishments and to celebrate. It helps you to think about what your lessons learned and what new competencies did you gain. It helps you to acknowledge your mistakes and to think about what you could have done differently. And ultimately, it helps to assess what brought you joy and passion. So before we jump in, really, let's think about setting the mood. You want to have the right mindset to think about your year in review. It really can be a powerful and energizing, but also emotional experience. So you want to set up some time for you. This is your time to maximize yourself and prioritize you. So you want to have some time alone. So find a place and some time where you feel comfortable. And I ideally like to do a lot of my planning sitting outside, but usually when I'm doing my annual plan, it is cold out. So I usually take to my bedroom where I have a chaise lounge, and I just have a chance to look out the window that way. I take a couple of hours in one session to sit down and do this, but I leave myself time a few days later to come back and reflect it for like another 30 minutes. I definitely have clients and other friends who spend a lot more time doing this, and they tag it on to their annual plan for the future year. I do really like to separate my reflection from my annual planning. Don't get me wrong, I definitely use what I've learned from my reflection in my annual plan. It definitely helps me, but I also do feel it's important to separate those activities. When else do you have time to sit back, reflect, and celebrate? So hopefully you have celebrated throughout the year, but often we do not take the time to do that. So we often jump right into the next thing right away. So use this time to reflect and make it the basis of your future planning session. I follow 3 basic steps. First, I look at my Connector Life score. I do a goal reflection, and then I look at some specific reflection questions. So let me walk you through those. So for my Connector Life reflection, I do tend to think of my life as a framework in 4 areas, just to keep it simple for me. But I look at myself, I look at family and friends, my career, and the community. So I really like to think about having work-life integration as much as possible. That is my philosophy with this, and I tend to think about these areas of my life as a Venn diagram. But I give myself a score in these areas on a regular basis, and I definitely try to think about it over the prior year. And I just use a score of 1 to 10. How did I feel about that year in those 4 areas? The second is to think about goal reflection. So I do usually set annual goals for the year. I don't try to think of them as New Year's resolutions, but they're truly annual goals with strategic plans and project plans behind them. If you don't have goals to reflect on, that's okay. It's not a problem. In my next blog post, we'll actually be talking more about doing an annual plan, and that will allow you to accomplish that. But basically, I do this time to look at my goals, again, maybe score them or think about and check off what did I succeed in and accomplish based on what I had planned to do. Finally, I do think about reflection questions. There's a lot out there. I've researched this in the past to try and make sure I felt connected. And looking at these questions, the 10 that I tend to prioritize are the following. So I do read works by Brendon Burchard, and you may know of some of the questions that he uses to summarize his life, and that is, did I live, did I love, and did I matter? So I really do like these questions. It does help me. I really connect with them. So that is my top question that I ask myself. Then I ask, what knowledge did I acquire or new skill did I learn? Hopefully I had planned to do certain things, and that is in that case. But in other cases, I've learned a new thing. I've definitely learned a lot more about making videos and online marketing since starting my business. I then think about what was my proudest accomplishment. So while I had that whole list of goals and things that I accomplished, I really try to think about and savor the thing that made me feel the proudest. Sometimes it's not something that's on my list, but usually it is. Then I think about what was the most important, and most important in terms of my business or my career, family and friends in those areas. What was the most important? I also try to think about where did I feel most inspired. So that's the next question. Over time, you of course want to be spending your time in your passions, enjoying what you do. And I like to reflect to see when did that spark in me throughout the year. I do also like to think about my biggest disappointment. We don't always like to go there, but I do think it's important to consider if you've had disappointments, because I do think you can learn from them. So it's important to reflect. I do think about the next question being, where did my time and money go? So hopefully, again, I was organized with that, but there are many times that the time goes in different directions that we didn't maybe plan on doing, or we spend money where we had not intended. So that is an important question to ask yourself. I do like to think about magical moments. Admittedly, that tends to be moments with my kids or my family, but there are also experiences at work that I feel reach that answer. I think about what I'm most grateful for. That's something I try to practice every day, but it's important for me also to think about the prior year, especially if I've not been committed to doing it throughout the year. And then because I do this at the beginning of the year, I also like to finish the year and think about what 3 words best describe my prior year. And that really helps to set me up for my future year, and I can think back about whether that matched how I had planned to live my year intentionally. So as you can see, if you sat down to do this all at once, you might not remember everything from the prior year. I really think it's important to remember you can do these kind of reflections at any time. There's different planners out there or tools you can use to do this again on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And I think it's an important skill to take and a practice to maintain. You can just use this on any piece of paper or in any OneNote app or other tool that you use to take your notes. I really think it's important to do that self-reflection and to follow those steps on that kind of a more frequent basis, because it will help you to be more productive and connected. So as I mentioned in the next Connect Your Life blog, I will be discussing creating an annual plan. So come back and visit. Join our ongoing conversation at kimberbooth.com and subscribe to my email list so that we can connect and I can share with you other information that I don't share anywhere else. So in this week's blog post, which you can find at kimberbooth.com, kimberbooth.com/blog/007, you'll also be able to download a tool that I have called the Connection Reflection. So that is a tool that you can use to help walk you through the 3 steps that I described today. So now it really is your turn. I turn it to you to ask you to use that tool to give yourself some scores for the past year and to answer those questions. Fill in the information in the comments below about what was the most insightful question for you, what surprised you, and share those in the comments so we can learn. So again, visit kimberbooth.com/blog/007. I leave you with be bold, be a connector, and excel in all areas of your life. Invest in yourself. Thank you.